Wait for it. Oh, it faded out. We were about
I
to get the keyboard breakdown there that I love so much. It's really synth, bro. You can't beat early 90s video game music.
It's like the 8-bit music. It's just incredible.
Yeah. It really is. If you haven't deep dove
I like deep dive.
Really try.
You haven't done a deep dive. Yep.
By the way, it's a Power Rankings show, aka the Power Rankings podcast. I should say that I'm Elliot Harrison. I'm joined as always with Marcus Mosher. We're going to pick some games. Marcus did better than I did last week in picks. I am 90-46 on the season. I missed some big ones. I missed Dallas Broncos. I missed Buffalo Jacksonville, and I missed Tennessee Rams. So those were some big misses I had. But I have, Marcus, some accounting to get off the top here.
Okay.
Feel free to chime in. Okay. But I would just like to say that when I started this podcast with Marcus, I really just wanted to kind of figure out a low, not low impact, but an entry point back in the industry. I'd had health problems working at NFL Network, and I left. And so, we do this. It's fun. We've just gotten started this season, and I don't do a lot of things for money purposes. And so I really appreciate, we have grown steadily every week. Marcus checks on it. He sends me these random texts to make me feel good about my life. So he thinks that I'll feel better about my romantic life if he sends me something like, bro, our podcast is up, which doesn't quite fit the bill. But I want to say I really appreciate all the people that have been listening. We haven't done any huge sponsorships or anything. I don't know if we will do that or not. I don't know how I feel about all of that. Quite frankly, I sort that out in my brain sometimes. But the great thing about that is, number one, we're growing because people, I guess, like the way that we do this. But also it's great because I know I'm rusty. I'm rusty, man. I'm slowly becoming the bell cow back. Right now, I'm averaging about 14 touches a game, but it's also great because when you're not married to giant sponsorship or whatever, I can promote whatever I want. And I love that. And just today, a lot of our listeners are in Dallas, and I got Jeep repairs done at Marlowe Automotive, it's a really great place. So if you have a classic car or an older car, I especially recommend them. And I know so many of our listeners are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. You should check them out. I'm not getting paid anything I'm just telling you to help you out if you got an older car. And I also want to promote my friend's Instagram account, Doug Brood. If you want to learn about beers, check it out, Doug Brood. But I'm half joking in that I can promote whatever I want. But the main point is, really appreciate you guys listening. I wouldn't do this podcast if Marcus didn't do it with me. I just wouldn't.
Thank you. It makes me feel good. Yeah. So we try to do some lighthearted stuff, but we're also going to be pretty serious about picking games because, Elliot, you and I, we have a little bit of an ego. We also like to compete against each other, right? Like we want to be right. And knowing your record off the top of your head shows that you like to be right. And I think we're going to have a good week this week.
It's funny. I looked up my record a few weeks ago and I called Marcus and I said, I'm doing a lot better than I thought I was. I thought I was doing horrible and I was doing great, but the last couple of weeks have been really challenging. I don't think I'm the only person.
No.
that struggled last week.
We had multiple teams that were double-digit point favorites lose outright last week. And I cannot remember the last time in a single week that happened. Crazy week. And I think this one's going to be pretty crazy as well.
Right. And I want to say, speaking of promoting things, and I mentioned I left the NFL because of health issues. I do have a health hack for everyone at the end of our podcast, if you'd like to hear it. But what you're not going to hear from me is, hey, see the good folks down at whatever clinic where you can get this and that done and I'm getting paid money. No, my health hacks are literally just to help you guys out there because I had to learn how to take care of my own health. Also, I mentioned Marcus did better than I last week. Marcus and I differed on the Thursday night game. That was Jets at Colts. If it's too distant a memory already, I had the Jets to cover and Marcus didn't. I think it was a 10.5 point spread.
Yeah. 10
I want to say when we picked it, and it really came down to a red zone drive. Josh Johnson, I forget who for the Colts, batted the ball up in the air and it got picked off and looked like I was going to be right. Marcus was sweating it huge. So Thursday nights are always so difficult to pick, as we saw with Green Bay, Arizona. Let's start there. Marcus, what do you got for me?
Yes, we've got the Baltimore Ravens going to Miami to take on the Dolphins. The Ravens are 7.5-point road favorites in this one.
You know, I don't trust Baltimore right now, but one thing I think needs to be said. I think one of the big criticisms coming into this year for Lamar Jackson was, and Baltimore as a whole, is how are they when they need to come back from, say, 2 scores down? I think they have definitively proven as an offense, and I'm not just giving Lamar Jackson the credit. I'm giving the line credit, the receivers credit. Mark Andrews deserves some credit. He's come up big at times this year. They've had 4 fourth-quarter comebacks this year already, Marcus. 4. So I think that's been put to bed. Do you think Miami can cover this?
I don't. It's going to be Jacoby Brissett again. The offensive line is atrocious. I really want to talk about the Ravens, though, because they're getting Sammy Watkins back. Rashad Bateman, their first-round rookie, starting to make some plays. They already have Mark Andrews, Hollywood Brown. You can see how this offense is going to be pretty hard to stop if they're ever fully healthy. I think they get right tonight, and I think they beat the Dolphins. And I think they cover that spread.
Easton?
No, that's an earlier guy that you made up in the season.
Yeah. I want to just say, if you are thinking about, so I'm with Marcus on this. I think Baltimore covers. We both like Baltimore to pick straight up if you're in your frat league or your sorority league or family league. But also Dolphins, 18 giveaways. Yikes. That would really scare me if I was thinking Miami could make this close. They just turned the ball over too much. You cannot turn the ball over against this Baltimore football team and win. Not when you're this quality a team as Miami. Let's move on.
All right, next game is the Detroit Lions against the Pittsburgh Steelers at Heinz Field. The Lions are 8-point underdogs in this game, and that line has actually moved quite a bit, Elliot. It was at 10 earlier in the week, and now it's down to 8.
You know, it's hard to trust Pittsburgh to cover any big line, isn't it?
It is, because the offense just isn't all that explosive, right? Like, the defense is really good. Like, they might have the best defense in football, but if your offense just keeps punting the ball back, eventually they're going to create big plays. Having said that, this is an awful matchup for Detroit. Jared Goff is not the type of quarterback that scares Pittsburgh. They don't have the receivers to beat them deep. I think this is a game where Pittsburgh has 3 or 4 turnovers, 5 or 6 sacks, and they just dominate.
Yeah, I'm looking for the Steelers to cover on this one. What I'm concerned about is being able to protect Jared Goff. Pittsburgh can get after the quarterback. And the other problem is, if you get in 3rd and longs, the Lions are averaging less than 10 yards per completion.
Yeah.
And if you listen to the pod on Tuesday, why didn't you? We talked about Colt McCoy averaging 10 yards per attempt. We're talking about less than 10 yards per completion here. I don't know who on the Lions offense can really generate the big plays for him, other than maybe DeAndre Swift. I know Hawkinson's been reliable. I don't look at him as a vertical threat. I'm with you on this one. I think we can move on.
All right, we're going to come back to that game in a little bit, though, because I've got a little bit of a parlay option. Last week, our parlay didn't hit. The Steelers won. The Rams did not, but we're going to come back to that one. Bills and Jets. The Bills are 11-point road favorites.
Well, this is a big line, and I think it would be really easy to say, look, the Bills aren't the team we thought they were, and they're not going to cover, and I'm going to predict that they cover. I think they rebound in this game. I would say Buffalo by 12. I'm thinking 28-16. Unusual score, I know, but the Jets are going to get a safety in this game. The Bills are going to get called for holding in the end zone. That's my Elliott Tradamus pick for this game. So I like the Bills straight up.
Yeah, it's Mike White again at quarterback. It seems like he is healthy from that hand injury. It's just not a great matchup for him. Buffalo's defense is so fast. They're going to be flying around all over the place. I like the Bills to win and cover. However, I would stay away from that line just because, man, double-digit road favorites is a lot of points, especially in a divisional game. But, Elliot, we've seen what the Bills have done to bad teams this year, you know, for the most part, other than the Jacksonville one, right? Like, they just completely dominate them. I think the Bills will cover.
The Bills are 5-3, dude. So they played 8 games. They've only had 2 games where they've even given up 300 net yards of offense. That's outstanding. Of course, they're the top-ranked defense in both points allowed and yards allowed. What is the over-under on this game? I'm really curious because the Jets defense can't stop anybody. The Colts slammed the brakes the other night in the 4th quarter.
47.5, 48, depending on your sports book.
I think that's a good over-under. I'd stay away with. Vegas did its job. I was going to think around 48. If you can guess the over-under, then I say stay away from the over-under.
I agree. Our next game, Tampa Bay at Washington. Tampa Bay is a 9-point road favorite in this one.
This was going to be my $10,000 lock. I'm 2-1 on my $10,000 picks, although Marcus rushed me into my pick last week.
Oh, how did I rush you?
It was my fault. I forgot to do it. And then when you asked me, I just quickly did it. Okay. This was going to be it. But when I found out that Chris Godwin was having trouble, I don't know. With no Antonio Brown, with no Chris Godwin, Washington did give Tampa Bay a really hard time last year. I will say in that game, though, Tampa Bay still ran up 500 yards of offense. Yeah. How do you see this matchup?
I think this game is going to be close. I don't think Tampa Bay is going to run away with it. It's not going to be a 38-3 game like we saw with them in Chicago a couple of weeks ago. I think Washington's defense is going to do enough to rattle Tom Brady, but I would pick Tampa Bay to win, but Washington to cover.
I was thinking 28-20 Tampa Bay.
Yeah, that feels about right.
But that might even be too many points. What's our over-under on this game?
Yeah, it's maybe a little higher than you would think, 51.
Oh, I'd bet the under on that all day.
Washington's offense has not been very good this season.
No,
I don't know how they're going to get I don't know how they're going to score. If I set the over-under on points for them at 21.5, you would take the under probably, right?
I would. So the spread I would probably avoid. Marcus says Washington to cover. That's fine. We both like Tampa Bay straight up. I say take the under on this game. Okay, what's next?
Yeah. Next one is the Atlanta Falcons and the Dallas Cowboys. The Falcons are 8-point road underdogs.
I think that's rich. I think that's really rich for the way the Cowboys played last week. I think it's too easy to say that they're going to rebound. After you bragged about Matt Ryan last week, I kind of did a little mini deep dive on Matt Ryan. He has played much, much better. And I don't even want to say he played bad at the beginning of the year. I think he was a little bit handcuffed in the way that they were calling plays. Everything was near the line of scrimmage. They've gone down the field a little bit more. Yep. His yards per attempt, his yards per completion are up. I don't know that I'm going to pick Dallas to win this game, but I would not pick Dallas to cover that spread.
I would not pick Dallas to cover that spread either, but we're going to come back to this one in one of my bets. But
I know what's happening here. I smell what you're stepping in already.
No Randy Gregory for the Cowboys. He got injured in practice on Wednesday. He's probably going to miss the next month, which is just brutal to this defense because they don't have DeMarcus Lawrence. They don't really have a pass rush with Neville Gallimore out as well. If Matt Ryan can sit back there and feel protected and just kind of throw to open guys, I think they can put up 30 points in this game. I think it's going to be close. I don't think the Cowboys are going to lay an egg like we saw last week, but I think this is a game that you want to stay away from.
And by the way, if you want to deep dive more on the Cowboys or you're a Falcons fan, Marcus hosts Locked on Cowboys. It's a great podcast. You can get further more from that game from him, or you can just hear his kind of nasal voice when he's sick. He sounds like Stevie Nicks a little bit. What's next?
Jeez, man. All right.
Stevie Nicks was the lead singer of Fleetwood Mac, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
Fleetwood Mac. They had an album called Rumors. It's one of the top 10 selling albums of all time. I know you only listen to Oasis and everything that came after that.
They came around like when the Beatles were out, right?
Yeah, go hang out with Maroon 5. What's our next game?
It's the Cleveland Browns against the New England Patriots. A really, really good game, an important game for both teams. The Browns are 2.5-point road underdogs in this one. Underdogs.
I think they should be. I know they proved a lot last week, but they are terribly thin at running back. Yeah. They had two guys test for COVID, Nick Chubb, and wasn't it John Kelly, I think, also?
Yep. And then Kareem Hunt's out with the calf injury. Yep.
He's been out. And then Dearness Johnson, who had that great game against the Broncos, really no overrating it. He played fantastic. Mm-hmm. He's okay. But at New England, well, here's the troubling part of this. New England, it might be the Brandon Bolden show. Brandon Bolden is amazing. The guy's been with do you know how long he's been with the Patriots?
Oh man, for like 7 years at least.
No, 2012. Even I was shocked. 2012. Now I think he was one of the guys that opted out in 2020. One of the Patriots that opted out, if I'm not mistaken. But he's been there 9 years. In 9 years, 9 years, he has 261 carries.
He's mostly a special teamer for Bill Belichick, but when he plays,
He gets touchdowns.
Yeah, he's not bad. He really isn't that bad. Now, they've got some other running backs. We'll see if Ramondre Stevenson plays. We'll see if Damian Harris plays. But they've got enough dudes that I'm not too worried about it if one of those guys is out.
Bolden's been good in the passing game this year. He's caught 22 of 24 targets. 10 of them have gone for first downs. That's much more in his career. As you said, he's been mostly a special teams guy. Patriots very much value their special teams players, which I think is smart. As far as this spread, though, this is a really tough game to bet on, Marcus. I might be inclined to say stay away, although I like New England straight up.
I like New England straight up as well. It's just a tough environment for Cleveland to go in there and play, maybe without their best player, Nick Chubb. I don't know that New England's going to put up enough points to run away from this game, but I think they could win a 24-14 type of game. Like, I just could see that happening. I'm really curious about this game because both of these teams are 5-4. If you lose this, if you're New England 5-5 and not out of the playoff hunt, but you're kind of starting to fall behind, it's just a really important game for both teams.
One thing you always do a better job of than I do is talking about the lines and how they move and to shop around. And I think that's really smart. So you had the Browns as 2.5 points at the time of us recording this. Mm-hmm. Let's say that moves to 3.5 because we find out Dearness Johnson's the only guy that's going to be able to go for Cleveland at running back. Just making this up. I definitely wouldn't bet on that. At 2.5, I think you can get away with it because it's so low. Obviously, if New England won 20-19, you'd be up the creek. But this has got to be another low over-under game. It has to be. I wouldn't be surprised if this was under 45.
It's 45, exactly. So we have seen a little bit of line movement over the last couple of days. A lot of money is coming in on Cleveland, actually, and I'm looking at some big U.S. sports books now, and the line is at 1.5 at some of those sites. So it's interesting. This is a really close, fun game.
It is. I know you hate it. But would you be inclined to bet the under? Couldn't you see this being 22-20? Me too. Yeah. I'd be more inclined to bet the under here than on the line. We both like New England straight up. If you're in your mom's league or your, whatever, your grade school league where you guys all still hang out and collect baseball cards. Jeez, as I have a giant nostalgia collection behind me.
Throwing everybody under the bus today.
Yeah. That's, hey, when you don't have a major sponsor, you're allowed to do this. That's why I'm going to go ahead and say it again. Spectrum, I really get frustrated with you.
Okay.
I love next game. Like baseball cards. Look at my background, dude.
I know.
I've got an O to be McDowell rookie. Okay, let's go.
Next one. Big game. Jacksonville against the Colts. Jaguars are 10-point underdogs in this one.
Jaguars. Okay. What do you want me to say?
I think the Colts are going to run. Colts are going to run right through them. Right. This is a game that Nyheim Hines and Jonathan Taylor should combine for 40 touches. Seriously, this is a game where they should just run the ball right through them. I still get nervous about games with big spreads like that, but I would take the Colts here.
Jonathan Taylor has had such a great season this year, 5.9 yards per carry, 12.7 yards per reception. That is a very large figure. A lot of the receivers that you think are great in the NFL I'm not saying you, but anyone, don't even average 12.7 yards per catch anymore. We've talked about Taylor not getting the ball in his hands at times this year. I don't think this is one of those games. I definitely like the Colts straight up. What is the line you're seeing on this one again?
It's 10 points, 10.5, depending on the site. The over-under is 47.5. I just don't know if Jacksonville is going to be able to score enough to have the over hit there.
And I could easily see a
30 to 10 point game, a 30 to 10 type of game, right?
Yeah, I would be inclined to bet the under, but I'm actually with you. I like the spread here as well for the Colts. Ooh, if I had to choose between the two, though, I think I would choose the under before I would. Oh, that is tough. 47.5 is just about right.
Okay,
I'll go with the spread. I'll go with the spread, and we'll go Colts straight up. Sorry, I had to think that one through. Remember, I never look at these before you tell me.
That's right. I'm just writing that one down because we're going to revisit it. Saints Titans is our next game. The Saints are 2.5 point road underdogs, which means Vegas is telling you that on a neutral field, the Saints are actually better right now. That is fascinating to me, Elliot.
It doesn't surprise me. If you look at the Saints this year, they've had some really good performances when you didn't think. Remember when they went to New England and they balled out? Now, granted, they've got Trevor Siemian, but I got to tell you, I said this the other day, Trevor Siemian has played well for that team. In the second halves of the 2 games he's played, he's done really well. That's what you want to see as a quarterback. He brought them back, Marcus, against the Falcons. It was the defense, surprisingly, that let them down, not Trevor Siemian. I know you wanted to see them play Taysom Hill.
I do. Still.
Yes. The other part of this is Tennessee is coming off a big time win where, because of dominating the line of scrimmage and some other factors, Derrick Henry didn't play as big a role. I'm talking about his absence. Maybe this is a game where that does rear its ugly head and they're not going to be able to throw the ball as effectively against New Orleans.
Yeah, and the thing that makes me really nervous if you're betting on the Titans is the Saints might have, 2 of the best trenches in football and the offensive and defensive line, right? Like, they can really block. And that's one thing the Rams couldn't do. And that's why the Titans won. So if they can protect Trevor Siemian, will he pick their secondary apart? I don't know. If I had to pick this game, I would take the Saints in the 2.5 points. But this is just a game that I want to avoid. And I actually just want to watch it, enjoy it, because I think it's going to be really fun.
Let's have that graphic. I'm right with him on this. I like the Titans straight up in this game, but where's our big black? That one. Lock of the week. No,
it's not a lock. It's the stay away. It's the
That's
stay away.
That's my fault. I said the blue and black.
We're locking it up that we don't want to bet on this game. There you go.
Stay away. Over under. This is another game. It should not be too high. If this over under is over 48, they're wrong.
44.5.
Yeah. Okay. Good. 44.5. I might be inclined to go the over, but I don't want to bet anything on this game. I like Tennessee straight up. What's next?
I agree. Carolina Panthers against the Arizona Cardinals. The Panthers are starting PJ Walker at quarterback, and that is why they are 10.5 point underdogs.
Who for the Cardinals is going to play? That's the issue.
Yeah, and I think that's why I said that's why this line is sitting at 10.5 and not 13.5 right now. It's because I don't know if odds makers know yet if Kyler plays, if DeAndre Hopkins plays. We know that Chase Edmonds is not playing. We'll see.
I hate to be this kind of dude, but I'm going to be this kind of dude. I've got it written in all caps on my notes that I can't read. This is a stay away game for me.
That's okay. I think I know people are thinking, that's such a cop out, but you don't have to bet on every game, right? Like,
no,
bet on the ones you love.
Right. Why bet on a game where you have a backup quarterback that we've seen very little of, correct? Mm-hmm. Then you've got another situation where you don't know who the starter is going to be. And the backup who played last week played out of his mind.
Yep.
And as much as I love Colt McCoy, is he going to do that 2 weeks in a row? If he did that 2 weeks in a row, Colt McCoy would be starting right now. And I'm a big Colt McCoy fan.
Yeah.
So
it's a stay away all day.
Stay away. But I like the Cardinals straight up. This game is at Arizona. That's relatively easy.
The Cardinals are going to win. It's just, do the Panthers backdoor cover this? Are they down by 17 and they score a late touchdown? I think that could happen as well, but just stay away.
Can you not use terms like backdoor cover? It's just so Gen Z,
Sorry it offends you.
Okay, let's go.
Next one. Vikings and Chargers. The Vikings are 3-point road favorites. And Elliot, I love the Vikings this week. I think the Vikings are going to not only cover, but win.
Do you follow Kylie Jenner on Instagram?
I don't. Do you?
I don't know. Well, it's Gen Z. I just thought I would, stay on point. Yeah.
No, not at all.
Do you want me to bring it back to football?
Sure. Go ahead.
This is the Sam Neill of NFL games.
Oh my gosh. That's 2 Sam Neill references in the last 2 shows.
This is a really difficult game for me. The Chargers played pretty well. And I say that with the caveat of they played well in that they did what they were supposed to do. Mm-hmm. A better game from Justin Herbert than we had seen in very, very recent vintage. But what scares me about the Chargers is that Dalvin Cook should have 200 yards rushing in this game. Exactly. If it wasn't for Linval Joseph last week for the Chargers, they wouldn't have stopped the Eagles at all. Linval Joseph, interior lineman, had 8 solo tackles, which is very, very unusual. Great game for him, not for the Chargers defense. What'd you say the spread was on this?
3. The Vikings are 3-point underdogs.
You know what? I'm going to go with you on this home slice cheese.
Well, I agree. Dalvin Cook should have a monster game. But what's so terrifying about this offense for Minnesota is the Chargers can't just load up on the run, and because then they'll have one-on-one matchups with Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. And we know how banged up the Chargers are in their secondary as well. So that's not great. Also, Elliot, do you know the Chargers have given up the fewest sacks on offense and they have the most sacks on defense? Yep. Seems like a pretty bad combination for the Chargers, who are pretty bad in both trenches.
Their offensive line played better, though. They played better. What's the over-under on this game?
Pulling it up. It is 53.5.
Ah, doggone it. I would have been wrong. I was going to go like 51 or 51.5. 53.5 is a little rich. I could see this game going over it.
I could see a 30-27 type of game. Seems very realistic, right?
If you're going to bet the over-under on this, I would bet the over. Definitely don't bet the under. But I certainly would not pick the Chargers in this game, no matter what, if you're gambling. In terms of straight up, I do think this is really, really tough. I like it because the Vikings are underdogs.
That's exactly what it is.
Vikings straight up for sure.
Yeah, I'm taking Vikings straight up, but I'll take the points also.
All right, this is going to be, and I've been doing this once a week. I usually go with Marcus on something, and he's usually wrong on that game. So I'm going to do it one more time. I went with you on Cardinals 49ers. I was going to go Cardinals.
Listen, I'll be honest. I'm going to be rooting for the Chargers in this game because they're one of my favorite teams to watch. But which team do you think trusts their kicker more between Minnesota and the Chargers?
Oh, gosh. Hey, do you know who has the last ranked run defense in the NFL?
No, that'd be the Chargers.
That is correct. I'm going to go with you. This is the last time. If you're wrong on this, the last time I'm going with you on a pick. Okay.
It's fine. Next game, Eagles and Broncos. The Broncos are 3-point home favorites in this one.
I don't have a problem with that. And it's not just because of the way they played against the Cowboys. I have my buddy Sudsy. There's a sponsorship. Sudsy. He sent me a text. He's like, the Eagles can't stop anybody. I love the fact that the Eagles are running the football now. I think that makes a lot of sense for them. What's surprising about the Broncos, Marcus, is how many big plays they're getting down the field.
Yeah,
you would have never thought the Broncos would be this team. It's not that Teddy Bridgewater has some big arm, but you've got to give him credit for his accuracy on intermediate throws.
I agree.
I like the Broncos at home.
I like the Broncos at home as well. I think they're going to win this game. I think they're going to have a little positive momentum going into the second half of the season. They're playing well.
You picking them to cover the 3?
Yeah. Yep. I will.
Okay.
Next game. And this one is a really fun game, but I have no idea what to expect from either quarterback. The Seattle Seahawks and the Green Bay Packers. The Seahawks are 3-point road favorites or underdogs, 3-point road underdogs.
Okay. I would pick Green Bay straight up. There's no way I would bet on this game. You've got one quarterback who had pins removed and hasn't played. And the Seahawks, we didn't know what they were before this happened. They were kind of mediocre, to be frank. Okay. Yep. You got Green Bay, whose quarterback has done what? Zoom practices at this point?
Because he hasn't even he's done like athletically and physically the last 2 weeks is walk. That's it. He hasn't done any running, jogging, nothing like that.
And I'm a big fan of power walking. You could go to Spotify, download your best podcast, download the Power Ranking Show, Power Walk, and don't be afraid. Pump your arms, power walk like the mall walkers do. Like actually get a brisk pace. That said, how do you pick this game from a gambling standpoint?
I picked the Packers straight up because I just think they're a better team. If this I even think if this was Russell Wilson against Jordan Love, I would still pick the Packers.
I wouldn't.
Well, and here's the reason why. I didn't love what I saw from Seattle earlier in the year when they had Russell Wilson. The defense still is not very good. I have major questions about the offensive line. And Seattle doesn't have the greatest history of success against the Packers. We know they've won a couple of weird games before, but going to Lambeau there, I think Green Bay should be the favorites to win the Super Bowl this year. I would pick Green Bay here.
Could Courtney with their itchy fingers do the blue lock of the week for this? You seem so adamant.
I would take Packers lock of the week.
You tried to fly it out earlier on us.
Easy.
Yeah. All right. Word. Okay. What's next?
It's our Sunday night football game. It's the Chiefs and Raiders. The Chiefs are 2.5-point road favorites in this one, Elliot.
A little unusual for them to be favored by 2.5 in my mind, given that the Raiders are at home. So basically, you're saying the Chiefs are 5.5 points better than the Raiders, as you like to say.
Yeah.
The Raiders had a bad game against the Giants last week. It's not like they got blown out.
Nope. They just had 3 turnovers. 3 turnovers with a difference in the game.
That'll do it against any team.
Yep.
I think the data since the merger, if you're -3 turnover, I think you lose 90% of the time.
Which makes sense, right?
Yeah. So that was an early window East Coast game. It's something you talk about a lot. I agree with you. Sometimes teams overcome it, but the trend is that they don't. I think the Raiders are going to show up here. I think they're going to show up big time. I do like that Kansas City's getting CEH back. That doesn't mean he's going to play this week. So if you're in fantasy, you sit him. Boy, that line, though. Would you be willing to pick the Raiders straight up to win this game?
No.
Why? But you cover the Raiders. Why?
Because the biggest difference from last year's Raiders team, who beat the Chiefs in Kansas City, they almost beat them in Las Vegas last year, and this year's team is they just don't have any speed without Henry Ruggs anymore. And that's what terrified Kansas City last year, is they just didn't have an answer for Ruggs' speed and then Waller over the middle. I think they're going to have more success in this game. The Raiders have some problems at defensive tackle. Their best defensive tackle, Jonathan Hankins, has not practiced the last 2 weeks. But Kansas City 3-18-1 against the spread in their last 22 games. That's awful. But I just have a feeling that they're going to get a win here. It's just a gut call. That's it.
You know, I'm with you on this, and I try to make a case for the Raiders. It's a lot going on with that franchise right now, Marcus, as you know.
Yeah.
It's just hard for me to believe that staff is not smart enough to realize we cannot win with schoolyard ball. And that's what they've been doing as of late.
Yep.
Get back to the script, as in scripting your plays. Go out there with a plan and have Mahomes stick to that plan, and I think you win this game.
I think so.
I know Kansas City, though, that they're really. I know they lost Sammy Watkins in the offseason. Nobody really made a big deal about that because Sammy Watkins didn't put up big numbers. But sometimes, as the number 2 wideout, he's certainly not the number 2 receiver in that offense.
Mm-hmm.
But as the number 2 wideout, and I'm referring to Travis Kelce, obviously, Sammy Watkins still was a good player. Just because he didn't put up the numbers. I don't think the Chiefs have gotten much there. It can't be all on Tyreek Hill. And I do think they need to run the football. But that said, I don't know what the Raiders are going to look like the rest of the year. And we have to admit their defense has played a little bit over its head at times this year. I don't know, Marcus, that they're going to be able to play as well down the stretch as they did the first half of the season.
Yeah, I don't know either. Now, they're going to get a couple guys back that'll help. Trayvon Mullen, one of their outside cornerbacks, is supposed to come back in a couple weeks. That should help. But I'm really curious to watch the edge rushers. I think the duo of Max Crosby and Yannick Ngakoue is maybe the best in the league right now.
I was about to say, it might be.
It might be. And in a game like this, where if you can rattle Mahomes with your front 4, I know their offensive tackles haven't played great this year. It'll give them a chance. This is a fun game, Elliot.
I know sometimes you like to edit video clips out of our podcast and throw it on Twitter, especially if I've got my reading glasses on top of my head. You're a big fan of that look. I don't think a Trayvon Mullen 1 minute segment is going to do very well.
No, it might get like 3 or 4 retweets. We'll see. All right. Can we go to our final game?
Yeah. Well, by the way, we both have the Chiefs in that matchup.
Yep. All right. Our Monday night football game. It's the Los Angeles Rams against the San Francisco 49ers. The Rams are 3.5-point favorites. Now, the Rams absolutely need to win this game if they want to keep pace in the NFC West, try to win that division. The 49ers absolutely need this game to stay alive in the NFC wildcard hunt. Who do you have, Elliot?
So, I always make notes for games and got down to this last game. And this is one of those games that I've talked about with you a few times this year, where never underestimate the pride of a football team or coaching staff. And sometimes that supersedes all the matchups that you want to talk about. This is that game this week. This is the week 10 game that's like that. And for me, it's because if the 49ers lose this game, maybe the entire viewpoint of this season changes. Do you go to Trey Lance sooner?
Yeah, they're done. I think if they lose this game, they're done because they will have lost basically every good team in the NFL, right? They lost to the Cardinals twice. They lost to the Colts. They'll lose to the Rams. They've lost. I think they lost to Seattle earlier in the year, right?
Handily.
I would stay away from the 49ers, and this one I would pick the Rams.
You always look to see how the lines have moved. Has the line moved? What is it? 3.5 the Rams are favored by right now?
It's up to 4, actually, since we've done this podcast. Yep.
I picked the Rams to cover that, but I feel like this should be a close game because I think the 49ers really are playing for their season. This would not be one of my favorite games to bet on. This certainly would not be my $10,000 pick. I'll tell you that.
So who is going to stop Cooper Kupp from this pass defense for the 49ers?
Nobody.
Because Josh Norman, man, I don't know how much of last week's game you got to watch, but Josh Norman was awful. And he actually got benched in this game because the 49ers got a 3-and-out, and he got a taunting penalty. He just was yelling at Cliff Kingsbury, gave the Cardinals another first down, and then he didn't play the rest of the game. And surprisingly enough, it was a big loss for them because Josh Norman might be their best cornerback right now, and that's how awful their secondary is right now.
Can we circle back to one thing?
Sure.
Well, we got 2 things to circle back to. Your parlay.
Yes. Let's do that real quick. Let's do that.
Go for it.
So I don't have a money line parlay that I love this week, but I do have a teaser. So if you're not familiar with what a teaser is, you can alter a line. And the odds are lower, but you get bigger point spreads. So, Elliot, my 7-point teaser this week, we're moving the Falcons game from +7 to +15. So basically, can the Falcons stay within 2 touchdowns? The Steelers down from -8 to -1, which means all they have to do is win. Mm-hmm. And the Colts down from -10 to -3. So they have to beat Jacksonville by the field goal. +130. You bet 100, you win $130.
Now, I could promote your teaser on Twitter, and I'd be happy to do that. But last week, I promoted what I thought was a really great parlay idea from you.
Yeah, it's not my fault the Rams lost. Sorry.
Speaking of shopping around, can we go back to one game here?
Sure, of course.
Can we go back and look? Because I really think this is one of the most fascinating games of the week. Cleveland at New England. I really want to watch this game. Schematically, I'm very curious how a lot of things are going to play out in this game, especially Baker's play. What the over-under? Do we have some differing over-unders on this game?
We do. Most betting sites have it at 45. However, I'm looking at a couple big ones. I'll just mention DraftKings and FanDuel have this at 46.5. So,
okay, that's my $10,000 pick right there. Under on Browns, New England. That's my $10,000 pick. Okay. Like I said, I'm 2-1 on the season. I lost last week because Marcus forced me and rushed me.
Forced you.
Yeah. So there we go.
I like it. That's
right. So before I give my incredibly awkward, non-football related Harrison health hack, you got anything?
Let's just run through our picks straight up. We both like the Ravens over the Dolphins.
Yes.
We both like the Steelers over the Lions. We both like the Bills over the Jets. We both like the Buccaneers over Washington, but don't be surprised if that game is close. I don't know about the Cowboy-Falcon game. I would probably pick the Cowboys. If you had to force me, you would pick the Cowboys as well?
Yes.
Okay. We both like the Patriots over the Browns, but that's another one you might want to stay away from. We like the Colts over the Jaguars. I like the Saints over the Titans. How do you like that one?
I like the Titans.
Okay. We both like the Cardinals over the Panthers. We're both picking the Vikings to pull the upset over the Chargers in Los Angeles.
I hate doing that too because I'm kind of pulling for the Chargers.
Yeah, so am I. I'm going to be rooting for LA in that one. We both like the Broncos to beat the Eagles in Denver. We both like the Packers to beat Seattle. We both like the Chiefs to beat the Raiders, and we both like the Rams to beat the 49ers. Not a lot of differing opinions this week, Elliot.
I'm having bad vibes about going with you on Vikings Chargers.
Okay, let's flip it. Go ahead, flip it. I want you to take the Chargers in this one. Take the Chargers.
Last week, no, it's the last week I'm doing it.
All right.
We did have a couple other little differences, though. I think Washington, Tampa Bay, I was taking the under on that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Yep.
And
51 in that game.
Yeah, we had one other differing on the gambling front, and doggone it, I can't remember what it was.
That's okay. We'll just count it as a win for me next week. I'm sure it'll be fine.
That's pretty much how you do things. I really would love it if people know how you operate. Gosh, I can't remember what it was now. This is going to drive me nuts.
I want the Harrison health tip.
All right, here's my Harrison health tip. I got asked about this today.
2 bean burritos before you go to bed.
If you're going to be like that.
Listen, look, Elliot, I was on the phone with Elliot the other day. He ordered just a enormous order from a taco place. I was shocked.
That hurts, man. I was getting something from my mother. She wanted a taco salad, and I got it. Okay. So one of the things, if you listen to podcasts or radio shows and stuff like that, they'll say, are you suffering from low T? And it's always this awkward, like, head on down to Earl Ray's hormone replacement clinic, and
sure.
I mentioned at the top of the show that I left the NFL because I had health problems. One of the ancillary issues I had because of the problem that I had, the original problem I had, was that my hormones crashed. And when I mean my hormones, I mean all of them. I'm not just talking about testosterone. Literally, I had a hormonal crash. And it was awful. And I literally felt like The Walking Dead. And what I will say is to all you guys out there, girls too, but where women typically think of hormones first, men think of them last. Mm-hmm. Go next time you get your checkup, ask your doctor to check your hormone levels. It's something you have to ask for. They're not going to just do it. Get them checked and make sure that you're in the right ranges, because that sluggishness that you feel because you think, gosh, man, I'm just getting older. I'm 42 now. And just because you're 42 doesn't mean you should have less energy than a 34-year-old. It doesn't work that way. There are a lot of factors that go into your energy level. Get your hormones checked. Just make sure they're on the up and up, because it's not something we think of. It's not something we do. It's not that expensive, and it's well worth your while. And I'm getting paid nothing to tell you this, but it was a big factor in me getting some of my health back. And so I can't recommend that enough. Go to whatever doctor you want. And I have no agreement with any of them. Go to your vet if you want to, for crying out loud. But just get it done. And by the way, you're still tough as a man.
Yeah. If
you could still drive your big F-350 diesel, okay, with dually, with lights, and you can hang out outside the Waffle House. I love the Waffle House, I could tell you. And I've driven some F-150s in my life, had 3 of them. You could still get your hormones checked. That's your Harrison Health Hack.
I like it. Good job to the graphics department behind the scenes. We got a little Harrison Health Hack graphic there. I like it. We might have to start doing this every week. Just a little bit, 2-minute bit at the end of the show.
Hey man, when things go wrong and you're like, hey, what do you do if you can't afford to get your kitchen and bathroom redone? You Bob Vila it and you do it yourself, and then you share your knowledge. That's all I'm doing, except I didn't redo my bathroom. I still have the same crappy tile I had before. It's off yellow.
That's a good segue to tomorrow's show. We're ranking wide receivers 26 through 50 in NFL history. So how's that?
Yeah, and one note on that. So Chad Ryder, who writes for NFL.com, just a great guy. Really, really does a great job with his draft coverage. Marcus, I know you follow him. By the way, he spells his name like Reuter, Reuter. So it's like Roto-Rooter. Chad is great. And Chad sent us a message saying, I want Marcus's top 50 receivers. So we did it. If there's something you want us to talk about on our free-flowing Friday podcast, let us know, because we kind of dive into any topic we feel like, including historical ones. Send Marcus a tweet at Marcus_Mosher or me at Harrison NFL. Marcus, I'll give you the final word.
Are you interested where Odell Beckham lands? Because I'm not. I think this is one of the most overblown stories in the NFL. Like, we're still treating Odell like he's prime Randy Moss.
Do you have OE? Are you suffering instead of low T? Are you suffering from OE?
What's
Odell
OE?
Exhaustion?
Yeah. OE. Yeah, I am, because man, we see this every year, and these guys just end up not making a big impact. However, Elliot, as we're doing the show, Ian Rappaport has reported that Odell has narrowed his choices down to the Packers, which is not surprising, and the Rams. Does that surprise you?
Yeah, that one. That's not the team I was expecting you to say. I was expecting you to say an AFC team. So
and we got official news right now as we're finishing up the show. It is the Rams.
I don't love it.
I don't
love it. I don't know what your take is on it. I think the Rams are having a good season. I think
why bring him in? You don't need him, right?
No.
They've already got enough weapons anyways. Cooper Kupp is the second coming of Jerry Rice. You do not need him.
And I've told you so much how much I think Robert Woods just plays that position all the way around, is a really good player in the league. I mean, they've got Higbee at tight end. He's proven to be a pretty good player.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't love it either, bro.
I don't love it.
Yeah, I said bro.
I like it.
Gen Z, man.
There you
Gen
go.
Z. Yeah. All right. We're getting out of here. Catch us tomorrow. We are going to talk about Marcus's top 50 wide receivers of all time. We've got to do 26 through 50 mostly, but we'll go back over 1 through 25. On Tuesday, we'll be doing the power rankings. Thank you to Courtney, Herbert, and Eric over at Brinks. Boy, I am getting older. Maybe I need to get my hormones checked again. Thank you, guys. Marcus, as always, you're the best. We'll talk to you later.